Hi, I'm Gary Cox with Bluefish Development Group. I'm a senior consultant here working on Alfresco. And today we're going to talk about the archive store, better known as the trash can, and customization we did, a real simple one basically, to do a cleanup of the trash can periodically through a quartz cron job. We have a couple clients that want automatic cleanup of the store, and so we wrote a simple customization to do that. Just first, a little bit of background. In case you're not familiar, when you actually delete content in Alfresco, it doesn't go away. It gets moved from the workspace over to the archive store, where it will sit basically forever until it's purged. Once it's deleted from the trash can, then it'll eventually get cleaned up off to the content store, not deleted in the file system. But as far as purging that, it's maybe easier for somebody to have an automated job to do that. For this customization, we make use of a couple of things. One is the quartz cron trigger that's a part of Alfresco, and the node archive service, which basically allows us to purge the whole trash can or a single item or a list. Now, this customization was written to run against a cron expression and then only purge those items that were older than had been deleted a certain amount of time ago. So basically there's a couple of global properties in Alfresco global.properties. One is the cron expression, when it should run, and the other is days to keep, which basically means to delete any items older than days to keep. And so one of the node archive service doesn't have actually a method that will let you kind of choose which nodes to keep and which ones to remove. You can either pass it a node ref or a list of node refs, or tell it to delete the whole trash can. So to get around that, the job that we wrote basically does a Lucene query against the archive store, looking for any nodes that are older than date range, comes back with a list of node refs and passes them to the node archive service, which then removes them, and then those will get cleaned up through the orphan cleanup process and moved off to content store, not deleted. So it's pretty simple. There's only a few components. It requires just basically a context file for the Spring Bean config, for the cron trigger, and for my custom class. And then there's, I wrote an abstract class just for convenience, basically, in case I wrote more jobs later. They can basically use the abstract class rather than rewriting code every time. And then my actual class that does the work, which does basically just does a Lucene query to pull back the node refs that need to be purged from the archive store, and then the call off to the node archive service. So it's real simple customization, but it can be really convenient, a little easier to call than having on a job versus having it run manually or having to have a process call it. So have this set up in basically an Eclipse environment. We use kind of Maven and Ant tools to do our builds. We use Maven to deploy into Ant files, and so all of our framework is there. So it's pretty straightforward just to set it up in Eclipse. And I'm going to demonstrate sort of the context files and Java files that were created for this customization. Basically in Eclipse we have just an Alfresco amp being generated. There's not really a share component to this. There's not any need for that. There's a job context file, and over here there's the cron trigger bean that's instantiated, and then we basically have it call point at my purger job as a target object, and we read in from global.properties a cron expression. So based on the cron trigger that will get fired, it will call my custom class, which is archive purger job. Up here I have two classes that I've written. The purger job, which basically makes use of an abstract class, and there's no real reason to have an abstract class, but if I had a bunch of jobs, it would be nice to have an abstract class here just to make life easier to create additional classes and jobs. So the abstract class provides a lot of convenience methods for getting different services, and has a basically an implementation method that I have to apply here. The execution method is pretty short. We're just looking for the archive date attribute with a Lucene query, and we're grabbing the current date and subtracting out from the current calendar day, how many days to keep. So we build up a Lucene query here, and basically query for that here, and then the result set comes back, and we purge the nodes using the node archive service. So it's really straightforward. There's not a whole lot to this. It's just 70, 80 lines of code, not a lot of stuff needed. So here there's an example site in Alfresco. We have about 11 documents here total. So if I select those all and then delete them, they go off to the archive store or the trash can. So I can go off to the trash can, and then I'll see them here. So these now I can either empty the trash can manually, or I could recover them. But my scheduled job is going to run at some point now and actually delete these nodes. Now, these are deleted today. I cheated a little bit and set my days to keep expression to be in the future, so it's going to delete everything basically, no matter what's in there. Normally you would set it to 30 or 60 or 90 as a day value as days to keep. If you have JConsole running, you're able to see all your cron jobs. So up here I bring up JConsole, and then my custom job is here. You can look at the attributes to see what the cron expression is, and if needed, these jobs can be fired off manually using the execute now method. So I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to fire it off, and that basically should, rather than waiting on the cron to schedule it, it's going to just execute it now. So that's all you have to do is hit execute now, and then it'll run. And actually, any of these scheduled cron jobs can be fired that way. So, for example, the sync trigger in Alfresco is another one that gets fired a lot manually because it does the LDAP sync. But now I'm going to go off to my my trash can, and you can see it's empty. So my job ran, and now there's no items. Everything has been purged automatically through the scheduled job, rather than a human having to do it. So that's basically it. It's a pretty straightforward customization, but it's kind of a good example of writing a custom cron and making use of Lucene queries to pull back a set of list of node refs, and then purging them with the archive node service. Thank you. Thanks for joining us today for this video. The code samples we went through on the video will be available if you want to take a look at them. It's pretty simple code, but it may be useful as a starting point to have it available. Look for our other videos. We cover a lot of different topics around Alfresco. Some basic help type videos, and others that dig down into different customizations that we've done for our clients. Thanks.